welcome to my new channel. My name is Sam if you don't know me. You might actually know me on Instagram as Christian Calligraphy. But today I figured that I would make a quick tutorial on how I use the app Procreate. Procreate is the app that I use to create all of my content. So I've spent the past 4 years trying to figure out the best way to use it, the tips and tricks and details and all of that. So this is a very basic tutorial, but if you're interested in learning more, let me know in the comments and I would love to make another video. So I think that's it, and I hope you enjoy. So before we get started, here is what you're going to need. First and most obviously, Procreate. Procreate is available on the App Store for a one-time purchase of $9.99. Trust me, it will be the best $10 you'll ever spend. Next up, an iPad. Personally, I use my 12.9-inch iPad Pro 3rd generation, and I bought it refurbished back in January of 2020, and it works perfectly, so I highly recommend looking into buying refurbished products. It can save you a lot of money. Finally, you'll need an Apple Pencil. While you can use any stylus or even your finger, Procreate works best with a pressure-sensitive stylus. The Apple Pencil is available in 2 generations. Just be sure to find out which pencil is compatible with your iPad. I've linked both of these products through my Amazon storefront in the description box below. When you first open the app, your interface will probably look a little bit different than mine. This is called your gallery. As you can see, I've accumulated quite a few projects. To create a new canvas, head to the top right-hand corner and click on the plus sign. You will then see various options for the size of your canvas. There are some pre-programmed dimensions such as screen size, square, and paper. I use the square option for all of my Instagram posts. To create a canvas with specific dimensions, hit the plus canvas button in the top right-hand corner and you'll be brought to this screen. You can set your dimensions in pixels, which is the default, millimeters, centimeters, and inches. For example, if you wanted to set the size of the canvas to 4x5, you would select inches and type in 4 for the width and 5 for the height. When you're brought to your canvas, you can pinch to pull the canvas away and zoom to zoom in. You can rotate the canvas by twisting your fingers. Before I do anything, I personally like to add the drawing guide. I do this by selecting the wrench, heading over to canvas, and toggling the drawing guide on. This gives me straight lines that I can write on. You can edit the drawing guide by selecting Edit Drawing Guide, and here you can change the color of the drawing guide at the top, and you can change the grid size, thickness, opacity, etc. Under the wrench, there are several options. You can insert files, insert photos, take a photo, and add text. We'll get to that a little bit later. This is where you will also export your finished project. Next, we'll head over to the brushes. When you first download the app, you'll have many options for brushes. Over the past 4 years, I've accumulated quite a few additional ones because there's so many available for purchase on Etsy. But using the basic brushes, the ones that are already programmed on the app when you download it, some of my absolute favorites for the type of content I create are under the calligraphy heading. I personally love using the brush pen and monoline. Here, I'm just playing around with some of the other brushes. These are just super fun to experiment with, so I highly encourage you all to just have fun and play around with whatever brushes come with Procreate. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use one of my favorite brush pens I found online, Rad and Happy. This one is available to download for free online, and I've put the link in the description of this video so you can download it too. After selecting a brush, you're going to want to adjust the size. Use the slider on the left to adjust the brush size. To adjust the opacity, you can use the slider underneath. Because I do mostly hand lettering, I don't actually change the opacity much at all, but if you like to sketch, paint, or draw, this is such a helpful tool. If you want to save the size of the brush that you're using, tap the gray rectangle on the slider and hit the plus sign. This will allow you to return to that brush size super easily. To change the color, tap on the circle in the top right-hand corner. Here, there are several options to select colors. I personally like the disc mode, but you can use the sliders in the classic mode, find complementary colors in the harmony mode, or manually select your colors using sliders in the value mode. Once you select your color, it's time to write. One feature of brushes that I love pointing out is Streamline. Streamline is a feature that will give your brush a magnetic feel and minimize variation in your lines. As I'm writing out my name with a low streamline, you can see the small errors that occur in my writing. But if you tap on the brush, you can play around in the Brush Studio to change different aspects of the brush. To stabilize the brush, click on Stabilization and drag the slider under Amount. This is what will give the brush a magnetic feel and a smoother appearance when writing. As I write out my name again, you should be able to see a clear difference. Many people have asked for a tutorial on how I do calligraphy, so I figured I'd include a quick explanation within this video. Writing in calligraphy is all about the pressure that you put on your brush or stylus. When you're writing, it's important that you put an increased amount of pressure on the downstrokes and lighten up on the upstrokes. It takes a lot of practice, and different brushes will give you different styles, so spend some time figuring out the type of writing you like best. Obviously, you will make some mistakes throughout this whole process, so it's important to understand how to use the eraser. The eraser is located in the top right-hand corner, and it's pretty self-explanatory. However, you can change the type of eraser you're using to match the stroke of the brush. This keeps the style of your writing very coherent. Next to the eraser is the smudge tool. The smudge tool is more useful in drawing and painting when you are trying to get the blended look, but it's fun to play around with. This next part is arguably the most important part of the whole tutorial: layers. This is best illustrated through an example, so I wrote out my name once again. I wanted to add some highlights to my letters, but I wasn't sure if I was going to like them, so this is where the layers become super handy. Click on the two rectangles in the top right hand corner and you'll see where the layers menu pops up. Click the plus sign to add a new layer, and this is where I will write out all of my highlights. Layers are basically a way to separate different aspects of your project so they don't interfere with or affect the other layers. Now that the highlights are done, you can turn the layer on and off. Also, you'll notice that if I erase something in the top layer, it won't erase something from the bottom layer and vice versa. You can reorder your layers by dragging them and placing them accordingly. So layers are so important, and I can't even tell you how many times I've forgotten to use layers and had to restart my whole project because of it. Also, under the layers menu, you can change your background color. Next, you will want to use the shape selector to move certain elements around in your drawing. Be sure to select the layer that has the elements that you want to move. Click on the mouse button and it will automatically select everything that's in that layer. There are many different settings, but I truly only use the uniform option. Here you can flip, rotate, and distort the elements on your layer. If you only want to select some elements, you can use the tool to the left of the mouse. Here, I use the freehand tool to circle the elements of my choosing, and then click the mouse to move, rotate, or flip those elements. You can group layers by dragging to the right on each of the layers and then selecting Group. This will allow you to move elements in groups instead of having to move each layer individually. Another fun feature if you're not interested in writing out your own words is the text function. Tap on the wrench in the top left-hand corner, click on Add, followed by Add Text, and here you can type out whatever you'd like. Double tap to select all, and then you can change the font, style, color, etc. Finally, I wanted to include a few of my very favorite tips and tricks. First, you have the double finger tap. This will undo your most recent action instead of having to erase or hit the undo button. You can wiggle with 3 fingers to clear the layer. Also, you can drag the color bubble at the top to fill your letters, shapes, and background. By tapping the rounded square on the left, you can select any color that's already on your screen. By tapping the rounded square and dragging an additional finger on the canvas, you're able to select the layer that you want to work with more easily. Finally, to export your project, click on the wrench followed by Share, and here you can export your project in a variety of formats. I typically use JPEG or PNG. So at this point, I just wanted to do a quick voiceover of me creating one of my posts. I create with the square option for my canvas. I find that to be the easiest to post to Instagram, and then I go right ahead and fill my screen with the color of my content. If you look at my feed, it has a very, very unique color, so I just go ahead and drag it from the top right hand corner. So quite honestly, I had no clue what I wanted this to look like, but I did know that I wanted to use this brush that I think it's from Brush and Barley on Etsy. It is the Severus, I think that's how you say it, that brush. And normally I would use the fill option here, but I wanted the texture that the brush offered me, so that's why I chose to actually color it in myself. After coloring it in, I realized I kind of wanted to do a sticky note reminder kind of look. So I created a yellow box on the top of the green one, and I was going to fill that in with the word reminder. Before I did any writing though, I wanted to make sure that it all stood out, so I did a quick white outline of both of the rectangles, and I made sure it looked kind of messy just to give a cute vibe. I don't really know how to explain it, but that was just my vision. So at this point, I'm just writing, and again, using that double finger tap, that is a lifesaver when you go to write. I just started to write, and I was hoping and praying that it would stay in that rectangle, and I think I did it. So after that, I made sure to add another layer. Again, this is always my downfall, so I remembered this time, and that was very great. So at this point, I'm just writing, but you'll see that my words got a little squished, so I decided to move the word God down, and then I wanted to center to please. So you'll see me do that right here using the shape selector tool and carefully going around my letters. Then I'm selecting the mouse so I can move it in the middle. So at this point, I figured that I would make the word God the focus word, and I made it a little bit bigger and a little bit thicker. But you'll see I did not like how close it was to the white edge, so I used the shape selector again. This time I didn't really have to be as careful because it wasn't on the same layer as the white outline of the green part of the sticky note, so I didn't have to be as careful. So at this point I wanted to fill in some of the green space, so I made some weird oval shapes on both sides of to please, and then I underlined not and made an arrow pointing to God to kind of get rid of some of that green space. So then I duplicated the writing layer and I filled it in with a deeper shade of green than the one that I had already used so that I could create a drop shadow. I then used the color drop tool to drag to the right, and then it fills in the whole layer, so that's super helpful. And then I reordered the layers so that this one's underneath. Use the mouse tool to create the shadow effect. And that's it. I was super happy with the finished product. I think it looks great, and I'm super excited to post it. Alright, so that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. Again, if you're interested in seeing some more details and hearing about my tips and tricks, I could make probably another 6 videos. So let me know if that's something you want to see. Don't forget to subscribe. I don't know how people do this. Again, new at this whole YouTube thing. So thank you all for watching, and Jesus loves you.